It's service time for the Territory, so that means we will run a engine flush through it and replace the oil and filter. Now, the reason why I use an engine flush is purely because it's a preference. I always have with this car. I've had it from almost new, and now it's got 195,000 Ks on it, and I use an engine flush, fill it with fresh oil and a filter, obviously, each time I do a service. And you know, it runs great. I want to obviously degrease the engine bay and clean this up a little bit. It's been quite dusty around here and whatnot, and I think I probably need to replace this top intercooler hose at some point. As you can see, it's bypassing a bit of gunge through there, and the dust and stuff is sticking onto that. So that's something I will look at you know, for the future, but right now we're just going to service it. Now, the way to use these engine flush additives is the engine should be warm, not cold, warm. So you've driven it around the block, it's all at normal operating temperature, which it is. I've just come back from the shops. It's, you know, it's quite warm still. Everything's under here is quite warm and, you know, actually kind of hot. So just be careful as well. The idea is that this goes into your engine oil, your old engine oil that you're about to drain. It essentially degreases the inside of your engine, or breaks down any solid particles or any bits of oil that have broken down and cling to the inside of oil galleries, cam followers, all of that sort of stuff, lifters, anything that has a hydraulic assistance mechanism in it. This stuff will flush it out. So you've seen probably an engine flush and also a lifter and tappet in the bottle next to it. Basically, it's a similar type of technology. That one has a whole heap of other things in it, but usually it's a more mild form of this that you add into your engine and you just drive with it the whole time. I don't particularly like those because it's doing something with the oil that the oil, you know, should be doing for the engine during its service interval. I would much rather use one of this. It's in the engine for a short period of time, you know, 10-15 minutes depending on what brand and, you know, that sort of thing, whilst it's idling. And then you dump the oil and fill it with fresh oil and a brand new filter as well. So I much prefer using one of these. The quick and dirty instruction is literally start engine, run for 5 minutes. Application rate is 50 ml per litre of oil. So 375 ml. I just add the whole contents of the bottle. Add engine flush to oil prior to oil change through the oil fill point. Restart the engine. Let the engine run for 10 minutes. So just let it idle. Allow the engine to cool. Drain the oil and replace the oil and oil filter. Refill the engine using blah, 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 blah. Okay, so there's a bit of an idea on what's in it. Distillate, petroleum, hydro-treated, light naphtha. In other words, a whole heap of additives and stuff to make sure that it's not going to spin a bearing on you while it's doing its thing. So add that to the engine oil, which is what we're going to do right now. Start the car and drain the oil and replace the oil filter and oil. Let me guess. One hand on the camera, and is it gonna do it for me? And it's got a safety seal, of course. I get a razor blade. Right. In we go. Lovely. I might just flip that bottle around so you can see what I'm pouring in. Might be a good thumbnail as well, hey? Oh, a bit of an overspill there. Oh, look at that. More's going off onto the bloody cam cover than there is going into the engine. Nah, there's only a little bit of a drip there. But never mind. Glug, 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 glug. All done. Okay, So now we're going to do exactly what it tells us to do. Start the engine and let it run for 10 minutes. Just replace your oil cap. Probably take the shit off your engine. Hey. Righto.
A few moments later.
Right, that's been 10 minutes. Probably a couple of minutes over, actually, maybe 12. But yeah, that's what we're doing now, and we're going to drop the oil, get the old filter out, pop a new filter in, and refill with fresh oil. Now, without actually doing laboratory testing and comparing them in glass jars and everything like that, I won't be able to tell you whether or not it's going to be cleaner or dirtier or anything like that. So I know there's a fair few comments of people saying, hey, how do you know that it's actually cleaning stuff out? Well, I don't have two identical engines running for the same exact conditions for the same time, running side by side, where we can pour the contents of the oil out and go, that's engine there without using a flush, and that's engine there with using a flush. You would want to see more shit in this jar here because it would be pulling it out of the engine, right? So the oil would look apparently cleaner in here, but both oil has been in a diesel for 15,000 kilometers. I'm gonna say they're gonna look pretty black and pretty ratchet as well. As soon as you put oil into this car, as with all diesels, it hits the bottom of the sump, you run it for 10 seconds, and it's black as well. So the jury's out whether or not it actually physically does it without scientific laboratory testing and, you know, running it through some coffee paper and stuff like that. But unless you did back-to-back on the same engine, same kilometers, same driving conditions, etc., you're never going to have an actual basis. It's like everything. For me, I pay a little bit extra for good oil, and I put, you know, 10-15 bucks in every service to put an oil flush in through it. So that's just what I do. Now the oil's finished draining, as I've been yakking, so I'm going to get the sump plug out of that, check the gasket on it. I think it's a O-ring on this one, not an actual fiber gasket. Pop it back in and fill it up with oil anyway. Had enough of me ranting.